Hello, everyone. Coming to you from my home again, and thought we could do a practice based on releasing. 2020 has been a tough year, and I keep seeing posts and hearing people say they're so ready for this year to be over and for a new year to begin. And I'm with you. However, 2021 is predicted to be a year of immense challenges, different types of challenges than what we're going through now. So this particular eclipse season, there was one in November and there's one coming up in December, is highlighting what we need to release. So whether that's things that we're still holding grudges against, maybe not forgiving our past, or something that's been done to us that was maybe in the wrong. It could be releasing old ideas and belief systems that are no longer in alignment with who we are today, or maybe information that we've learned or have adopted. There could be other things. If you haven't been practicing or moving your body much, you may be storing a lot in your body. The fear that's kind of been imposed upon us in society could have calcified in the body somehow and created tension for you. I have been saying this since we got out of the initial kind of quarantine stage of the pandemic, that we're all going through a collective trauma. And our first and second chakras are what's being impacted the most. So if you have been dealing with pain or issues in your legs, in your feet, in your knees, in your hips, in your low back, a lot of this may be stemming from this collective trauma. I mean, think about it. There's been so much loss, whether it's your business or you could have lost family members this year. It could be the loss of your spouse's job, or the loss of income, right? Because I know I've lost out on a lot of income. But there's been a lot of loss. The loss of freedom, the loss of gatherings, the loss of not getting enough hugs and physical contact or social interaction. The list could go on and on. So I don't want to continue. But basically, if you think about the first chakra being our, the foundation of our body, if you look at this from a bigger standpoint, our whole foundation has been rocked. Our foundation has been totally shaken. On top of that, yes, our finances and the economy has been impacted. Our relationships have been impacted. I think I heard someone say the other day that divorces have doubled this year. This class is about release. What do we need to release? What do we need to let go of? And even call upon yourself, upon your soul, to maybe expose to you what that is, and then try to pay attention, because it could come up in the mental realm. It could come up with your emotions getting triggered. It could come up with certain experiences that you never wanted to repeat again, but all of a sudden it is happening to you again. This could be part of it. So we want to release, so that when we release, when we go through this quantum shift with these eclipses, and this winter solstice is going to have a Christmas star, and it's really the conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn. It's going to be very visible on the 21st of December, and it will continue to be visible, according to what I read, for the whole week of Christmas. This new era is taking us into the Aquarius age, and it's about new beginnings and fresh starts. And with any new beginnings, we kind of have to stumble our way through sometimes, which is why I'm giving you fair warning. The next year, again, will hold its own challenges. we are going through a shift, and it is for the greater good, and more things are going to kind of come into our awareness. I don't want to say how or what, even though I have an idea, because things could change, you know? So let's get started. And I want you to begin. We're just going to go right into it, into a pose. So if you stand somewhere, I don't care which way you face, but somewhere at the top of your mat, I want you to go ahead and soften and put a slight bend in your knees. We're going to hinge from the hips. A lot of people just kind of fold from the waist, but there's a hip crease here at the upper thighs. If you push back into that hip crease, this is where we're technically wanting to fold from. And if you need to, prop your hands on your knees, that's all right. If your back can handle gaining this extra traction, you can hang free. And then just kind of loosen up your neck here. Let your shoulders soften and hang off the back. Let your hands flip open. And the eyes can be open or closed. This is more of a dangling pose, and right now I'm hanging like a rag doll, but there's another option of cupping a hold of your arms, and that will make the upper body heavier, and I don't really want that right now, so I'm going to use the back of my hands. And it's okay if your hands don't touch the floor. It's really not the goal. The goal of yoga is liberation. So maybe for today's practice, think about what we need to release, what you need to let go of in order to gain more space and freedom in your mind, more space and freedom in your heart, more space and freedom in your body. So take some deep breaths in and out through your nose. You can even use the exhalation as a way to release more. In fact, since you're doing this from home, it's safe to take a cleansing breath. So take a deep breath in. Breathe out slowly and audibly through your mouth. Breathing in. Breathing out. Maybe a couple more. You can even get audible. On your next inhale, let's heel toe the feet apart. And let's sink down into Malasana. And so in Malasana, we're doing more of the Yin Yoga type of approach, which are long held deep stretches and a little bit more passive in the approach. So if you want to bow your head into prayer hands, you're stimulating that marma point at the third eye. And so when you go inside for some introspection, just know that this particular place where we have this marma or acupressure point can relate back to the prefrontal lobe of the brain. And this prefrontal lobe of the brain is like the general or the CEO that connects to all the circuits of the brain. This is where I like to refer to as the higher state of consciousness, or intuition. This is also a place where you can try to envision maybe what it would feel like or be like if you weren't holding on to any baggage. Freeing up any fear that may be holding you back. From making a higher choice or stepping into the unknown. Continue staying with the breath and just observing the state of your mind and any thought that may pass through. Unless the thought is truly insightful or inspirational, these are things that we can also release and let go of one by one. Release the furrow of the brow if the brow is getting tense. Release any tension from your jaw or your mouth, and even release the tongue away from the roof of the mouth. So even though we're doing long static holds, if these are problem areas for your body, you can always exit or straighten the legs and then come back in. You can even sit on a block. Now let's go ahead and swim the arms around behind us. And we're gonna plant ourselves on the floor, but extend the legs forward and out. So I don't have a blanket handy actually, but check in with your body, because if you sit and you're trying to create good posture, but it seems kind of impossible and the tailbone's tucked under and you can't lift all the way up, if you get a folded blanket or even a toss pillow and just sit right at the edge, it will give you this little pelvic tilt forward, which is what we're aiming for in a forward fold. We're going to move into half butterfly. So we'll bend the right knee and we're going to open from that hip. Now that blanket or toss pillow can also be supplied underneath the knee if you're having any, complications here with the hip, or if it's rather constricted or tight, or also with the knee. Now notice the foot is coming to the inside of the knee on the straight leg because we're doing it the yin way, half butterfly. This forward leg can be more relaxed unless you need to be active, flexing the foot and keeping the back straight. And that would come into play if you have had a history of herniated disc, for instance. If you have a healthy back, let's go ahead and reach the arms up overhead. And as you exhale, just pour down, releasing the head and the neck, the back of the hands resting alongside your body. And the eyes can close. So that first chakra, which is about our foundation, our sense of security, is more or less the legs and the feet, but it also can deal with the pelvic floor and the low back. And the second chakra that I'll also mention that's heavily impacted this year shows up in the reproductive organs, in the urinary tract, in the hips, low back, and lower part of the belly. For now, just gain awareness of the weights in your left heel, maybe your calf muscle softening and spreading out. Probably feel the stretch through the hamstrings, but it's also trying to open up the fascia, the connective tissue that overlays the muscle. Remember, the body keeps the score. Life shows up in the body, especially when we're under stress. Notice the shape of your right leg in comparison to the left. It may even feel warmer on the left side hip and cooler with this external opening on the right. We're not really concerned about any particular alignment here. In fact, we are attempting to round the back. Even sense whether or not you can breathe into your back lungs. Just a couple more breaths. And of course, if you want to hang out here longer, you can always pause the video and restart it. On your next inhale, turn your hands down. Push through your palms to elevate the heart. And then fire up the left foot. Reach the arms forward and come up. And as you exhale, you're going to spin to the right. The left hand will cross over to the bent knee, and you have the option to press it downward. The right hand, you want to station more behind that area at the midpoint of your back or your tailbone region. See if you can bring the left shoulder forward, the right shoulder back. Taking a little deeper spin in your twist. The eyes can be open or closed. So sometimes I mention in twist, the front side of the body represents the more conscious self, and the back side of the body is the more subconscious self or the unconscious self. So when we're doing the twist, we're trying to shine light in the shadow or shine light towards the things that have been hidden or unknown. And since I mentioned the eclipse earlier, that's what eclipse energy brings too. Since we're moving into this new age, you're going to discover, we're already actually experiencing this, but it'll continue to happen in the next few months. More and more truths are going to be revealed. More of the things that we've been a little uncertain or questioning of, more answers will come about. We need to stay flexible and open to whatever that is, even if it's a surprise or shocking to our system. For now, close your eyes and maybe affirm mentally, quietly, or even aloud if you want to join in. I radiate my love, my goodwill, and my compassion to soul friends everywhere. As you exhale, gently unwind from the twist. And then lift the right knee, straighten that leg out, then the left knee, and then fan open from that hip. Again, check in because this may be your problem areas right now. And pain may be coming and going. So we don't want to take it to the point of pain or strain. So continue to check in. I mean, there are days this year, and I've noticed this with some of you as well, that we've had so much back pain that it's hard for us to even tip forward. And so my advice would be, maybe you're experiencing that today, is just to stay uplifted, to stay upright, because even performing good posture, you're working certain muscles in your back. But since this is about release and forward folds offer that state of release, we're going to lift the arms up, and then we're going to explore that option to see if it's available for us to roll over. Straight leg. It's not about how low you go, so let that go. Maybe that's what you need to release, that competitive nature. It's so funny right now because, my boyfriend's daughter is the same age as my son. And they've been friends since they were 3. And now we're cohabitating together. And it's really interesting to see the dynamic between them. You know, my son is, he's very much an observer. He's got a quiet demeanor about him and very soft, compassionate heart. And it shows up even when he's playing sports or playing games, board games. And she, on the other hand, she also has a big compassionate heart, but she's competitive. She wants to win, and she gives him a run for his money. And she really kind of beats up on him at times, and it's a very interesting dynamic. And I'm okay with that because there's something that they're learning from each other. So when you bow over, I want you to be in that state of wonderment, because when we come to the mat, we are trying to self-study, study the mind, study the body. What are we holding? What do we need to release? Where are we getting trapped? Where are we constricted? Where are we open? Where are we more flexible? So go ahead and immerse yourself with that breath. Breathing in, breathing out through the nose. Of course, if you need the cleansing breath to give you that deeper sense of relief or release, you can exhale audibly through the mouth. Breathing in and breathing out. On your next inhale, let's walk the hands back, come up a little bit, and then stretch the arms up overhead. Allow the upliftment of the arms to help to create space between each vertebra, which is fantastic for twists. So the right hand can come to the bent knee, the left hand behind the back. Continue to turn by bringing the right shoulder forward, the left shoulder back. The eyes can stay open, but maybe your space is distracting. Right? So, maybe you're looking at some dust on the table or things that may have been piling up, or movement if there's anyone in the room. So feel free to close your eyes to stay more internal. And I apologize about the dog, but I put them outside thinking they would have fun since I've been gone. But they're obviously thinking it's cold and want to come inside. So go ahead and continue to hold this twist, taking deep breaths in and out through the nose, affirming, I radiate my love, goodwill, and compassion to soul friends everywhere. Next inhale, just lift up through the crown of the head. And as you exhale, unwind from the twist. We're going to lift that left knee up. We're going to spin ourselves around to tabletop position. From tabletop position, ground the palms beneath the shoulders, knees below the hips. Curl the toes, launch into Adho Mukha Svanasana, your downward facing dog. Distribute the weight evenly through the hands and fingers. Continue to draw up through your sacrum. And then on your next inhale, let's bring the left shin just behind the hands and get ready for swan. So from swan position, we're going to start with upward swan. Instead of doing the active form of the upward pigeon, where we press the front foot and knee down to lift and elevate the pelvic floor, we're going to stay melting towards the floor. But the hands can walk closer in. And this is going to be a nice release for the iliopsoas muscle. And that muscle is something that helps us with posture, but it's also something that can be affected by emotion. And so maybe it's some pent-up emotions that we need to release from the hips. If it feels unsettling to the low back, please don't remain. In fact, I'm starting to feel that myself because that's where my issues have been this year. Hands are going to walk forward. And we're going to close the eyes and notice how that changed up what we're feeling in the left side. You may feel heat kindling around the hip. After these few breaths, we're going to travel the hands forward again. Notice how it starts to bring more sensation to the upper thigh. You may have a different experience. I'm just sharing with you what I'm personally feeling. Maybe taking it to Sphinx arms. Now it's moving into the lower back half of the thigh. I'm feeling that flexion a lot in the left knee as well. Maybe taking the elbows forward, hands to prayer. Maybe feeling that working down into your shin, calf, ankle, and foot. Now, obviously, you don't have to go this far. And you don't really necessarily have to remain here either. I know some of you are capable of stacking your arms, or even getting the arms out of the way, and dropping more towards the face. And even though I can do this, I can tell it's too much today. So I'm backing up. So listen to your gut. Listen to the messages that you're receiving from your body. Even releasing the idea, well, I did it this way the other day, I should be able to today. Let that go. One of the lessons we're to learn from the second chakra is how to be accepting, how to let go and let God, how to let go and go with the flow, right? It doesn't mean we have to always comply, right? If it's truly against our belief system or against our will, but we have to be present in whatever is happening if we want to choose to stay conscious, choosing to stay awake. And then on the next inhale, we'll come up out of that swan. We'll plant the palms, we'll curl the toes, we'll launch into Adho Mukha Svanasana again. Downward facing dog. And I normally say keep the eyes open, but close your eyes for a moment and just feel that rush through your left hip and leg. And let's carry the right knee and shin towards the front of the mat. Elongate the left leg. And we're going to try to see what's possible here. So if you want to travel the hands in, again, we're not lifting up this time. We're staying settled down. Whew. So on the previous side, I was feeling it more in my low back. On the left side, I'm feeling it more in that iliopsoas muscle. So even though I want to stay here, you can walk your hands and come more forward to relieve any pressure if in fact it is your low back. And then we're going to join you. So let's walk our hands out and settle. Notice how you settle down a little bit more towards the ground. And maybe noticing it swirling more here. And then eventually stepping the hands even farther away. And here it starts swirling. At least it is for me. Keep paying attention. Where are you holding more? Where can you let go? And what is it that we may need to release? And sometimes it's even our breath. Sometimes we don't realize that we're not truly letting the breath go or holding on to that inhale. Sinking to Sphinx arms. Again, you may need to be higher. You can go lower. So maybe sinking to prayer hands, stacked arms, or all the way down to your brow. Pull back and bear witness. And try to let go of each thought. Again, unless it's insightful or inspirational, for now. Or a nice vision you have for yourself, for the world, for the future, and what lies ahead. Now, something I didn't mention earlier is the kidneys and the adrenals. Go back to the second chakra and think about the adrenal glands are, the gland that decides whether or not we're going to react to stress. And if you look at Chinese medicine, they say fear and doubt are the emotions that we tend to hold in the kidneys. So it'd be very interesting to check the stats on, you know, kidney stones or kidney failure, kidney diseases for 2020, right? There's been a lot of induced fear. So drop the fear, try to bring some more health to your kidneys. Another good thing you can do for the kidneys is, this is an Ayurvedic thing, but drinking warm water first thing in the morning with a squeeze of lemon or lime. So um, instead of coming up to down dog like we did earlier, come up at least halfway where you're on your forearms. Curl the back toes under. You can take a quick forearm plank just to transition down to your belly. And if you want to be more in a Sphinx position, and again, I'm not instructing the active way, it's more passive. But I'm going to walk my hands forward or my elbows forward and place the hands together to prayer and then bow my head into them. You can choose one or the other. And so now even notice the right leg feeling much more tingly from that energy, from that circulation. After we were getting that nice flush in the hip. And think about where we're getting this bow in the back. We're getting a good flush for the kidneys here. First, second chakras. This is our main focus today. Turn to your breath and see if you can breathe diaphragmatically. Feeling your belly swell and expand on the inhale. And soften or retract on the exhale. And last breath. After the exhale, slide your hands up underneath your chest and shoulders. Push up to all fours and crawl the knees ahead just a little bit. Bring the big toes together to touch. Sit back towards your heels and stretch the arms out. And you don't have to overly stretch the arms here. In fact, the elbows, I would suggest, stay resting on the ground. So notice here, we've got the bent legs to open the hips. We've got some traction through the spine with the arms extended in front. Stimulating the brow, maybe gazing into the mind's eye. Be more connected to that prefrontal lobe of the brain and to stimulate the pineal gland. That helps us to see a more expanded viewpoint of life, in the world, and our purpose in it. Feel how when you're dipping between your thighs, again, you're getting that little bow in the low back. Take 3 more deep breaths. And then on your next inhale, gently walk the hands in. If you want Shavasana, you can pause the video and take Shavasana, or you can join me in a seat. And again, if you need to bolster your hips up or straighten your legs out, that's okay. I want you to flip your hands open. And calmly close your eyes. Since I was mentioning release and this idea of the collective trauma, we focused on the first 2 chakras. I'm going to teach you something a psychic friend of mine taught me years ago. Some of you may remember Sally, but she taught me once in a meditation that if or when you're feeling pain in the body, to do a little psychic surgery. And so usually those terms get me really squeamish because I don't have a strong stomach for anything medical, but I was okay with this, so hopefully you are too. Since you're sitting and breathing and checking in with your body, it may be that these few poses took any discomfort away. But if in fact you are feeling or sensing some discomfort, or maybe know of a place in your body that keeps showing up day in and day out, or at least this year, maybe it just crops up on occasion, place your loving attention to that space. Breathing in and out through your nose. Try not to condemn it, judge it. And again, loving attention to it. And maybe even say internally, I see you, I hear you, I feel you. To acknowledge it. And then imagine with your mind's eye that you have the little tools like a surgeon would have. Maybe a scalpel to cut in to whatever that area of the body is. To find perhaps some inflammation. To discover that scar tissue. To remove that source, that root cause of whatever suffering you're experiencing. Imagine you're cutting into it ever so gently, ever so lovingly, and cautiously moving it out. Purposely taking it in, scooping it within your hands, and setting it aside for a final release. And if it's due to some type of karma, or something that you're not quite sure where it's stemming from, just allow yourself to be in the question or to state internally or aloud. Reveal to me what needs to be healed. And give me the strength and the awareness to know when it shows up, and the skills and the wisdom to know what to do to release, to close that karmic account, to release any of that past stress that may have calcified in the body. Now that it's been removed, send a beautiful healing light to it. I'm going to ask that you send it a mixture of white and gold. Send white light and gold light to this place where you were doing the surgery. Picture it being whole. Picture it being healed. You can even imagine patching it up and it having its beautiful, natural, healthy color. Patching it up, sewing it up, but showing no signs on the outside. 3 more breaths. And eventually bring in your hands to prayer position at your heart. This has been yoga for release. And I hope this helped you in some small way. Namaste.